Welcome back to Inside Tennessee. Our guest this morning is Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, the Dean of the Senate, representing Oak Ridge and parts of Knox County for many years now. John?
Randy, last summer you and Speaker Sexton tapped a group to take a look at, on an ad hoc basis, juvenile justice and probation. Right. And that report finally came out this past week, as you know. It said a lot of different things. Some was like, we need to make sure there's mental health counseling for the kids that are being held, but we also need to think about how we treat them depending on the crimes that they are alleged to have occurred. It's a whole lot there. I'm just kind of curious, you've looked at it, what you think about it, if you think it's all great or if you have some problems with one but not the other.
Well, I think it's a real good effort, and unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of violent crimes committed by young people where that used to not be the case. I mean, you know, they did things like shooting firecrackers and stealing hubcaps, right, and that was about it.
Skipping school.
And it's really changed. Drugs have had a big impact in that. What they see on TV, I think, also is sometimes worrisome, and where we used to go out and play and interact with people, now they're on a computer doing this, and I have to do this.
Is there truth to the notion, sir, that some gangs in particular recruit young people to commit crimes that are serious crimes, knowing they're juveniles and they won't face the same penalties that somebody over the age of 18 would?
There is.
And what do you attribute that to, and how do you stop it?
Well, I think one of the proposals by the former district attorney from down in Memphis, he is saying that the individual should serve out his time till he's 19, and as part of that he would have a suspended sentence on top of it, depending on the seriousness of the crime.
So it would stay with him into adulthood, it wouldn't just go away.
And if he messes up badly, then he goes to prison.
I've covered juvenile courts for, well, several decades now in the state of Tennessee, and I was always struck, for people at home who don't know this, there is a conscious effort to view the child, as they are often portrayed, as somebody who can be rehabilitated. And there's great protections which have been taken in this state to sort of approach that philosophy in the way you handled kids. This report looks to me like kind of a change. This is kind of a conscious decision of we don't treat them all necessarily that, you know, first you think about every way you can rehab them before you say you got to go to adult court.
Right. I think that's the key, that you have to evaluate them, and it's on. You have to make sure that people that are committing violent crimes, people that are using guns in the commission of crimes or other weapons, that they go to adult court.
DCS has come up, you know that we had testimony late last summer, I think, including from Tim Irwin, who's our juvenile court judge here in Knox County, about how DCS, being Department of Children's Services, near collapse, if not collapsed. We ended up talking to him. He was kind enough to speak to us in November, and he said it is collapsing. I'm just curious your thoughts about it. You heard Commissioner Quinn say, I'm going to need a lot of money to help with personnel and hiring, and that's just one thing. As now that we're in the session, what are sort of the things you're anticipating coming out of it to help out DCS?
I think you'll probably see a special appropriation that comes through, and that we don't usually do that. We usually like to have one appropriation bill, not dozens as the feds do. And I think that will be geared just to DCS, and it'll be geared to better salaries, better training, better equipment for the people that are the boots on the ground.
Should we be listening for that in the governor's State of the State coming up? Do you think he'll
Yes,
mention that specifically?
I think he will.
Anything else you
Well,
think will be in that State of the State?
I hate to say what the governor's going to say, but I think DCS and I think education, particularly the workforce development, and I think those will be some big things that he talks about, as well as the budget.
You mentioned education, and we've heard a lot about charter schools and the fact that the legislature may open that up a little bit more so now. Explain your position on charter schools, whether you think they're a good idea and whether they should be expanded in this state.
Well, charter schools, I don't really have a problem with. I think it's, it first goes through the local Board of Education, and then there's a charter authorizer that it can't be appealed to if the decision is no. And I think that as long as they're properly funded, and as long as we have enough testing so that we're sure that the students are getting educated and educated in the right things.
Longtime Senator from East Tennessee, Overby, said on this program many times, listen, until you convince me otherwise, I don't see it's a good idea to take money away from public education and give it to some other entity. What do you think of that criticism?
Well, I respect Doug, and he made a good U.S. attorney, and I think it's more that the money is earmarked for the student. You're not taking it away from the system. It's going with the student, and that's what I'd say.
All right, we're going to come back and talk some other specifics and also more budgetary items when we come back on Inside Tennessee with Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally.
Well, thank you.